Hello, everybody. Today we will be talking about what we have found in our anthropology project. Um, my name is John Zapata. I I'm one of the people in the group.
I'm Paris Chandler.
And I'm holding Philogene.
All right. All right, so let's start talking about what we have found for our cultures. Holdens, what did you find with your culture?
My culture was Hindu wedding and Hawaiian poi. And with the Hindu wedding, it's a jovial activity and a sacred ceremony done by the Hindu people. And it consists of the foods coconut, rice, and a special paste that they make. Um, I also did Hawaiian poi, which is a food made from the taro plant, and it's used um, traditionally to spread the history of Hawaiians and their ancestors. What did you find, John?
All right, so I studied two. I studied the Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine, and I also studied tailgating in football games. With tailgating in football games, it usually happens right before a football game, and it's usually the members of the home team that get together and or not the members of the whole team, but the uh, the people in home. I could cut all of this. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yes.
uh, uh, the fans of the home team get together and they start tailgating. They bring foods such as, any barbecue foods such as um, hot dogs, hamburgers, sausages, anything that's easy to cook, steak, chicken, pork chops, so on and so forth. They also bring lots of beer, which is usually a tradition to get drunk before the football games. And the other one that I studied was Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine. Um, that this is a tradition that started many years ago, where many Germans and many people from Switzerland came to Pennsylvania and they were poor. So the foods that they mainly had were things like asparagus, potatoes, bread, apples, huckleberries, cabbage, anything that wasn't too expensive or wasn't too meaty, just because they didn't have the money for it. And the food was made on a budget just so everybody could. It was almost like a buffet style between a whole um, community, just so everybody could eat together and not have to spend so much money in doing so. What did you find, Paris?
The two cultures that I studied were Japanese rice and potlatches. So rice in Japanese culture is extremely important. The word rice is the actual word is in their. Are you able to cut this?
Oh, I could cut whatever. Doesn't matter. You could.
Okay. Um, so rice was either a meal for the Japanese culture or it was combined with their meals, um, like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It symbolized wealth and it was used to trade for goods. And rice was also given to soldiers during the war to nourish them while civilians just ate oats. Um, and rice is also very important because it to plant and harvest rice, it took a whole neighborhood, which caused families and friends to stay close, and they and generations of kids stayed close together because they had to harvest rice together. And then I also studied potlatches. So those took place in the Northwest Coast with tribes and leaders. So it was a celebration hosted by a leader or someone in the tribe when, uh, you know, like when a child was getting married or a daughter's first menstruation came about or uh, someone got a higher position in society. So these potlatchers were filled with gifts and food, and the food was mainly like steel meat or fish and dipped in sweet oil. And the host always prepared more food and gifts for guests than guests would actually do it themselves.
Yeah.
Um, so, also, while doing our research and studying these different cultures, we also um, found some terms and we're going to define them for you. And so, a term that I um, going to define as cultural cultural relativity. Um, so, cultural relativity is it's suspending one's ethnocentric judgments in order to understand and appreciate another culture. So for me, I put aside my culture and the reasons for our gatherings to understand and respect potlatches and their history and the reasons why they celebrated that. Maybe as they had face down to others, I put my own beliefs aside to understand and respect theirs. What did you find, John?
All right. So for cultural relativity, the example that I actually found um, was the fact that I had to put my culture aside just to learn more about Dutch cuisine, um, and I also had to learn more about the names that they gave the food, like gambis, which is one of the foods that they have, and schnitznep. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but that's another word that it was more of a German word for a food that they also had in the buffet. What did you find, Holdens?
Um, uh, while studying my cultural groups, an example of cultural relativity for me was when I had to set my feelings aside also in order to fully understand the importance of why the people of Hawaii wanted to continue spreading the knowledge of their ancestors' history and the history of their culture by making boy.
Right.
Mm,
There's also another term that I found, which was rituals, which is a repetitive act that takes place at a set time and location. It's usually symbolic with objects, words, or actions. One example of that um, is potlucks or potlatches. Sorry, they were. It was always a celebration, and that's when tribes and everyone they got together to celebrate. Um, it was never for anything bad or mean. Definitely, it was for something positive. How about you, John?
all right. With ritual, with my field log, uh, I with my field log, the family that I was studying did this dinner every year on Christmas Eve, and so with this, it was a ritual that they have. The fact that they do it every Christmas Eve. Um, Holdens, what did you find?
The ritual I found was the rice in the variety of ways that the rice is used. Like one example is you have a game where at every wedding, the husband and wife have to throw rice on each other, and the person who wins becomes the dominant one in the relationship. So this is an act that they do at every wedding. And it's a ritual for them.
All right, and I also found two words. Um, One word that I found here, or one word that I studied for this project, is ethnocentrism, and it's the deep felt belief or feeling that your culture is superior to all others. One example I have of that is, for example, if you really aren't big on football games, um, you probably would look down on tailgating just because of all the drinking and the overeating of food, and um, it's something that other people would look at and find weird just because people are getting drunk and eating so much just to watch a football game at the end of the day. So um, that's one example I had. Paris, did you have an example?
So an example I have is so for potlatches, one of the things to celebrate was a daughter's first menstruation. So to other cultures that may be odd because it's such a personal experience that you wouldn't normally share with the world. Um, so that's just how about you?
Uh, what I found for ethnocentrism is uh, the process of making Hawaiian poi. Um, it would be seen as bizarre to people outside of that culture because the process involves young boys dressing in traditional, I guess you would say, attire, which is like a loincloth almost, to take the taro plant and crush it and mash it into this substance that they use for poi. So that would be bizarre if you weren't from that culture.
All right, another word that I also studied with subculture. And with subculture, it means original, social, or ethnic group that is distinguishable from other groups. Um, for my example, I found that the Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine started from subcultures of Germany and Switzerland. So it didn't actually start from the Dutch people, but um, it is now named Dutch just because of the ritual and because of how it became to be. What did you find, Holdens?
Hold on one second. And you said we could cut this out, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're good.
Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I minimized stuff and it disappeared.
Not talking.
Yeah, this is really like gone. I'll freestyle it while we're doing. What was the word again?
The word was subculture,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
believe.
so for
Yeah.
subculture, um, pretty much in the Hawaiian culture, the people who actually do make the poi, they're a subculture of, I guess you would say, mainstream Hawaii. They aim to kind of just have the agenda of spreading the knowledge of the ancestry of Hawaii, but they're not part of the main population of Hawaiians. They're their own little subculture.
Mhm.
Um, so for me, one example of subculture was the Northwest Coast potlatches. They held the Northwest Coast held potlatches, but sold in northern groups and groups on the southern coast. So for what Northwest Coast potlatches, instead of the celebration being about the celebration was about people coming together, but it also had a lot to do with competition with who brought the most food and the most amazing gifts. Whereas northern groups and southern coast groups that helped out was more about people coming together and having a good time and making each other feel
And Holdens, do you have a couple words as well?
Yeah, I do. My terms were a symbol, which is a thing or a sound that represents. Sorry, one second. I really don't know what happened to all this. One second. So yes, symbol is a thing or a sound that represents something else for a group of people. So in the Hindu wedding, the coconut represents prosperity for a young married couple. So they'll bring coconuts to the wedding in order to wish them like good fortune and prosperity. You find anything, John?
Yes. Okay. Uh-oh. What was the word again?
Symbol.
Symbol. All right, what symbol I found? Again, going back to my field log, um, the day the family had food was a symbol to the Christian religion, just because it was Christmas Eve. It was celebrating the day that Jesus was born on Christmas Day, and so it was almost a symbol not only to the Christian religion but also to the family as well, which is why they always got together, and they gathered as a family to eat and enjoy the day. Did you find anything, Paris?
So in Japanese culture, rice symbolized every meal. So for breakfast, so in Japanese, rice means gohan, and in breakfast, lunch, and dinner, gohan is also in that word. So for breakfast, it means asa gohan, lunch is hiru gohan, and dinner is ben gohan.
Okay. Mm,
My second term was enculturation, which I'm trying to get up. Just give me a second. I'm having a hard time loading everything. I don't know if it's my connection.
do your thing.
Okay, so here it is. Enculturation. Damn, I'm messing up the recording.
No, you're not. I could literally delete all of this.
Okay. Um, you know what? I'm trying to. It won't even let me scroll down. Like I got the file open, but it's almost as if it's still loading. I guess.
All right.
Let's see. All right. So, enculturation. It is the process of being socialized to a particular culture. This includes learning the language, the customs, biases, and values of the culture. So, my example of enculturation would be during my field study or field log. I observed my family having lunch, and because I was already socialized to their culture, I was familiar with um, the activity that was taking place. It was I was accustomed to it. Did you find anything, John?
Yeah, with enculturation, and with my field log, I was actually, this is again with my field log, I was actually socialized with the Dominican culture, thus learning more about the culture and the food. Um, so it was almost like almost learning a little bit more about my culture and what and what my culture brings to the table. Uh, in Paris, what did you learn?
Well, for enculturation, I learned so that for many different cultures, uh, a person may be important to that culture or a leader. And for the Japanese culture, what's very important to them is their rice, because rice brings families together. It's used for trade. It's planted and harvested together, and it signifies wealth and um, keeping family and friends close.
Mhm.
So with with terms and everything that we learned, we've also learned differences within the cultures that we studied. So for me, I learned that something different about each culture is that they took place in different environments and with different types of food. How about you, John? Did you learn any differences?
Yeah, I found out that there were all different types of nationalities involved in the foods, and I also found out that it took place in different environments. And what did you
How about
find,
you,
Holden?
Hope?
And I've found that every food has every food from the cultures has different historical significance, and in each culture there's a different group of participants.
Mhm. All
Well,
right.
there are similarities. Um, so for me, I found that a similarity was that uh, all of these cultures, their traditions were family and friend oriented. How about you, Holden? What do you find as a similarity?
I found that in all the cultures they were deeply rooted in tradition that consisted of food that had some sort of significance for them. How about you, John?
I found the fact that usually it was always a gathering of people, and it was also there were also a lot of similar foods between the cultures, including a lot of vegetables and a lot of meats that were similar um, in each food. All right, so now that we are done with that, we are going to discuss what we will be doing for the group project as a group, and how we're going to, for the group report, and how we're going to break down the group report between each person. Now, for me, for the group report, I will start the discussion of cultural anthropology and food. I will be including the procedures and perspective anthropologists use in studying cultures and how food relates to anthropology. So I will be making that my goal to finish that group report. Um, Paris, what will you be doing?
So I will be doing B and C. So B, I will be um, in our own team words from the terms in step two. I'll be defining what we found and how we define them, and I will also be giving descriptions of how each of us did our field studies and studied our different cultures. How about you, Golden?
I'll be doing part D, so I will take all our notes and put them together, and also put together the similarities and differences of the different cultures.
All right, perfect. All right, so that is it for the video. That's all we have to do.
Cool.
All set? All set? Okay,
We
thumbs up.
done?
Okay, yeah, we're done. That was it. Cool. Yes.